Hello and welcome to Conversations about Language Teaching. I'm your co-host, Dr. Reed Riggs, he, him.
Hi, and I am Dr. Diane Neubauer, she, her. And we have an episode that we just picked a topic for right now. And it's based on an email that someone had sent me. And so it's an issue that I think happens to a lot of teachers who are trying to use the target language with their students. And it's the person described this like it was extending young learners' patience, their ability to handle things like not immediately recognizing a word and not just being derailed completely by that. Um, like yeah, she kind of explores in this email, like what exactly is it that I'm trying to get them to have, but what are some strategies that could do that, especially with younger learners? Like she's thinking elementary school age or first grade, second grade, like 6, 7, 8 year olds. And I have taught some of those folks, and I would say, yeah, sometimes the younger kids handle that kind of, oh, I'm not sure I fully understand pretty like they handle that well on occasion and others not. And she has the same comment where there was a teacher who she would go to a classroom and the teacher was already using a lot of target language to communicate with the students in just kind of ordinary running of the class. And so they were able to handle it way differently than students who were entirely new to the teacher trying to communicate through the target language with them. And so I think it's kind of it's that issue of like handling ambiguity, but it's also like what it feels like to hear and understand a new language and what are some tools to help make that comprehensible that the students know that they can do. Um,
Yeah,
and a whole lot of other things probably too. So
sure.
there's a
Well,
lot more in the email, but I'll pause there. Like
yeah,
she's looking for strategies particularly, but I think exploring some of the psychology of what's going on in the little child's mind could be interesting
sure.
too.
So I worked in an after-school Mandarin program for about 3 years, and this was a private school. I was working with second and third graders, and I think, kindergarten and first graders as well, run with a different teacher in the same room. And fourth and fifth graders, I think my first year they would come back and visit, and then the program extended to them afterwards. It was our current kids the next year were able to continue on as fourth graders. I think that's how it worked, because I remember seeing them near each other, but I was focused on the second and third graders. I was told before I went into this program, it's hard because it's after school. It's not
Hmm.
structured. You structure it like it's not structured. The
Right.
parents have no expectations other than basically babysitting,
Yeah.
using the target language. There's not really any expectations from the stakeholders.
Yeah. I had taught an after school program for the littlest ones like that for
Yeah,
a kind of part of a quarter at a preschool through eighth grade school that I
yeah.
taught at many years ago. So yeah, I had that same experience. Yeah, I think
We
that's another additional factor.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. We would sometimes have behavioral issues that we talked to parents afterwards, and we were told. I was told, and then another teacher was told by different parents, "Why do you care? This is after school. Like, just let them play. None of this matters."
Yeah.
So there wasn't much accountability.
Yeah.
So I want to set that up as context for me not being a total expert in this teacher's context, but
Hmm.
that it's the closest I can come to that context. That my context, that one was a little similar.
Yeah.
Um,
But I mean, you have had the experience with older students in regular language classrooms, like
yep,
what she's thinking
yep.
about,
I'm also
even those young
watching.
learners. Yeah.
I'm also watching my wife use her heritage language with our daughter daily,
Yeah.
and okay, and I had an interesting interaction with my daughter last night that I think is relevant. We brush teeth twice a day, every night at least. And we let her choose a language to brush the teeth in. And something
Oh,
I've been doing
that's cool.
recently, yeah, so we'll say like, how when I floss between each teeth will count in what language. And so something I've been doing recently is I've suddenly become aware, maybe in the last year or so, that when a person, a student in a classroom, or in this case, my daughter at home, knows what's going on, like knows what the activity is, knows how to participate, knows what to expect next in terms of what action is coming next, you can use unclear language because,
Yep.
and
There's
I think this is,
understanding is undergirded because it's like this is a
yeah,
predictable activity. I know how
yeah,
this activity works. Nothing's going to shock me here. I know
yeah.
is expected and how to participate.
Yeah. You know, when
Yeah, that totally
Ricky
makes sense.
Ricardo used to yell at his wife in Spanish, it was
And
clear to the audience, and I Love Lucy, yeah, it was
I
clear
Love
to,
Lucy. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it was clear to the audience and it was clear to Lucy that he was
Yeah.
yelling at her. And so
Yes.
the words didn't need to be understood because what really the intention was the emotion and the yelling, the yelling at and the
Yes.
being yelled at. And so
Yes.
that activity was clear despite the words not being clear. And I think that so last night what I was saying I started to brush her teeth, and I had that in mind. And I want to include this story because her reaction is interesting. I intentionally went more complicated with my language than I usually do, but I did it in an emotion, in a normally emotive way, where I just said like, "I'm gonna brush all your teeth right now. I'm gonna get them really clean. I'm gonna brush all your teeth. I'm gonna get them." So I said like, "我要刷你的牙齿，刷你的牙齿，好，张开你的嘴巴." And so I kind of made a motion with my hand, like opening,
Open.
and then I went did it with my mouth. I was like ah, I was like 张开你的嘴巴 ah, and I repeated myself, but I was going fast, but it was kept like I was acting out, but it was kept normal to what we normally do in that routine activity.
Yeah.
And she said to me, she's like, "What are you saying?" And I said, "I'm speaking. 我要说中文." I stayed 100% target language just because I was feeling silly. I was in the mood,
Hmm.
and I knew I trusted the routineness of the activity. I
Yeah.
trusted her comprehension of the activity itself, that she knows what to do to open her mouth and have her teeth brushed.
Yeah. Well,
And
and I would
so,
add maybe your relationship with her too. Like
yeah,
she can trust you.
yes,
She knows you do some goofy dad stuff, but
mhm,
she knows that's not going to harm her. And I think
yeah,
that helps too.
that too, and that's relevant to classrooms where
Yeah.
we're talking about a familiar teacher versus an unfamiliar teacher
Yeah,
is is an important factor to pay attention to
this is one of the
with
factors in
these
this
kind of
email.
things. Okay,
Hmm.
so so yeah, I just went with it, and and so I just said to her, I know, and there are words I knew I could lean on that I know that she says, I know that she understands, I know that it's like she is so clear in the comprehension of production based on 3 years of usage. I know she knows Zhongwen. She knows that
Yeah.
that means Chinese. Like there's no. Yes, it's possible in any given moment that she has a little brain blip and forgets what it means in the moment. That's always possible. But I trust there's a good chance that she'll understand that word when it's embedded in a bigger sentence, or even if it's embedded in a bigger sentence. Now, that does create sometimes another problem when they're not expecting a word in a sentence, and that could be like a grammatical level cause of miscomprehension. But I'm setting that aside because I repeated it a lot. I said,我要说中文，我跟你说中文，我喜欢说中文. I also know that she knows 喜欢 because she understands it. She says a lot. We actually read that word in little sentences I print for her.
Right.
So I'm
And that means likes for the
likes,
audience that doesn't know.
yeah.
Yeah. So you're
Baba.
saying all kinds of statements about like, I like Chinese. I want to speak in Chinese. I'm going
Yeah.
to speak in Chinese.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
so yeah. So she heard that word Chinese language a
And
lot.
even if she didn't understand, I've still got the toothbrush ready and it's going to go in her mouth. Like,
Right.
and so it's okay if she doesn't understand any of it, but I am doing my part to try to make bits of it, the main parts of it comprehensible. I'm not checking comprehension because again, the activity doesn't need her to understand
Yeah. Not at that.
words I'm
Yeah.
saying. Not
She
at
just
that
needs to kind
clear
of
level.
allow things to happen around
Allow
her
it.
with
That's
the
it.
language
So
happening. Yeah.
I think coming back to classrooms, I think that's I would map that onto probably what's going on with the other teacher. When you walk into another teacher's classroom, you don't know what got them to that moment. And I
Yeah.
think that teachers, I even when I talk to teachers who are very immersive, we have some Spanish, most of the Spanish department at our school judiciously push each other to use Spanish like 100% if possible. And when I've asked them, how do you not have students rebelling all the time? Because that's what I had when I started. And I was doing like
Right.
100% Chinese. And my students were in like absolute brutal rebellion. And I had to
Hmm.
figure something else out. And they
Yep.
said, no, we do sandwich translate. We start out at the beginning with English whenever they need it. We just
Yeah.
we just use Chinese,
They
we
move
Spanish all the
towards.
time. Yeah. And then we
Yeah.
we we give them translations at the beginning to get everyone settled, and then it's fine from there. Now, Spanish could also lean on cognates and things not necessarily that students understand, but sometimes the situation plus the cognate can make it kind of obvious, plus a gesture. But that could be true probably of any language if you have a situation plus a gesture, that can help too. But I think that
Mhm.
if you walk into a classroom and see the teacher using 100% target language, you don't know that they've always been 100% target language. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The process of getting them to that may have taken some time, or there might be some allowances that just didn't happen to come up when you visited or
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Yeah. I found a similar thing where I was trying to, it was for me I was teaching the one that's most memorable is a seventh grade class where I was trying to really shift towards more target language use, partly because of the ACTFL 90% plus target language use position statement, where it suggests that in classrooms and whenever possible outside of classrooms, the teacher and students should be using 90% target language. It doesn't define if is that word count, is
Yeah.
that time spent,
Right.
what context and when and how. And I mean, there's
It's
not a
feel.
ton
It's
of,
it's a
yeah.
vibes number. Yeah.
Right. So with that caveat, but the idea of using a lot of the target language throughout the class rather than my explaining in English, demonstrating it. Here's a display of that Chinese sentence form, and then going on, or I'm having them memorize and rehearse saying things. That's kind of where I started my own teaching. Like
Yeah.
when I was trying to focus on their comprehension and the experience of being in the language much, much more. I had students kind of shut down but in my case, like you just said, like I was expecting them to do a kind of new activity. So I was trying new teaching strategies and I was using language that I thought they knew. They should be okay. Like, I think if you're finding that your students are pushing back, um, part of it may be let's get those instructions really clear. Like, what's going to happen next? Tell them in the language they know, a language they know, explain the process to them. And that is going to be such valuable leverage of use of a known language that you share with them before you enter those things. If you don't share a language with your students, it's going to be that extra added challenge. But if you have that resource, absolutely use it to explain, okay, what we're going to do, it's going to be, and like make it a
Hmm.
game. If these are
Hmm.
young kids, like, we're going to see if you can tell what I'm talking about.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I remember you have said, I
Yeah.
think maybe even on the show before, where like you set their expectation very low, like, can you pick out a word
Yeah.
every now and then?
See if you
And
can
you're
pick
actually
out
hoping
one
that they get a
word.
lot more, but that would
Yeah.
be enough
Yeah.
for them to kind of get on board
Yeah.
and to start to be able to get into the process. And over time,
Yeah.
you can work towards that level of target language communication and comprehension.
If you
I
want to
think
take ACTFL's statement kind of literally, then there's a 10%
yeah.
of, English in American context that you're allowed. So use that for your initial instruction giving, but also
Mhm.
try to set up your classroom such that routines
Yeah.
become the system, and then students go, oh, this again.
Yeah. Yeah. So elementary school, do you have like if you can go in and see homeroom teachers and what their routines are and just borrow it?
Yeah.
So like do students have a certain way that they ask a question? Do they raise their hand beforehand? Is there a certain procedure for that? Like what do they do? Does the teacher call on students with like popsicle stick, sometimes called equity sticks, where everybody has their name on a
Mm.
stick and you pull one out and call students kind of randomly that way and they can pass if they want? Or what are the procedures for that? Because that's what stuck me with fourth grade. They were like, you called on two boys in a row. I'm like,
Right. Fairness.
oops.
Yeah.
I didn't know, like, they were not, there was some kind of thing with their homeroom teacher where they're like very carefully, arranging, because fourth grade, man, you
That's what
want to
they're,
be fair. They
yeah.
are so concerned about that.
Yeah.
So fair to the fourth grade
Yeah.
mind you.
Yeah.
So Yeah, so helping them understand what the activity is like, finding the procedures that they will be more familiar with, if at all possible. And it's hard when you're in and out of classrooms, like I think this teacher is. They're visiting someone else to do a little lesson for these elementary kids, and then they're leaving and going to another one, and then
Oh,
another
oh
one.
yeah. Okay.
And so building those routines might not work for that teacher as well as it would if you just kind of grab onto the expected routine from the homeroom.
Well, it sounds like the classroom you're visiting, it might make sense to take a week or two to go visit each of those teachers and kind of see what the students are used to with that teacher.
That's
And then when you
true.
go in, you kind of build on
That's
those
possible.
those participation practices that the students are used to or expect in that room. The other thing is
Hmm.
it might just be if you I'm not saying you can start with this level of confidence, but you can work toward being the confident teacher who walks in and just knows that your students will be used to how you do things, and so that they'll adapt to you.
Hmm.
But that could take time to build up.
Right. Right. And
Um,
yeah, and I agree. It's like a confidence level. Like if you've got clear routines in your own mind of how you want every,
yeah,
like, especially elementary, I think the routines of like, we do this and then we do that and then we
yeah,
do that and then we do that can be
yeah,
really helpful
hmm
just because of their age and developmental level if you're going to try to lead 30 of them in some sort of activity.
yeah.
Um, so yeah,
They often care.
you
Like
can
I've,
set it up yourself, but it might be that you need to be ready for it and you need to be consistent enough to know what your goals are. So I know a
it's
lot of
yeah,
elementary teachers start with a song,
right.
and maybe there's gestures and activities that kids do with a song, or they watch a video of it, or
Yeah,
and then they're
it's
kind of getting in.
it's the same kind of functional goal of a bell ringer activity. It's like let's get everyone settled and focused. And so if a song
Mhm.
is what does that, then that should be it. You could also see what the other teachers are doing. My bell ringer for my high school is usually some sort of get your notebooks out, look at this picture, write some descriptions in your notebook, and it serves all the goals of language
That calming.
language practice, language usage practice that I want, but it also serves the goal of getting them to stop chatting with each other and like sit down and get quiet so that we can have our class. But I would think for little ones, maybe a song. But
Yeah,
again, you'll get your
or
best
call and
inspiration.
response,
Oh, that too.
like just something that's that quick that
Yeah.
is so like
Hmm.
I'm trying to I don't know of one in English. This is an English teacher that we're talking about, different
Yeah.
context than the US.
Sure.
Um yeah, but like I'm trying to think of the one that I've heard a lot in Spanish, like
Hola,
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 Coca-Cola,
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
sure,
yeah.
sure.
I don't know if I
It's
want to
quick too.
advertise Coke every day, but
Well,
it's
yeah,
but
in
yeah,
Chinese we would do
something
ER
quick.
sense and then the kids would yell ooh because one, two,
Oh,
three, one,
that's
two, three,
cool.
four, and then they go five.
Yeah, nice.
Um,
Okay.
so that could be a quick thing, but yeah, I
Yeah,
found that
even
if
for that though, you might have to tell them in advance the first time, okay, we're going to learn a new call. We're
yeah,
going to
yeah,
call back and forth to each other every
yeah,
time we start class. We're going to learn it now and
sure.
begin, you know.
Um, on the flip side though, so I did some observation hours in California at a Mandarin immersion school, and I think I was watching kindergarten and first grade and second grade. And the rule was that the teachers couldn't let the kids know that they spoke English.
Oh,
But this was an immersion
wow.
school,
Yeah,
and also
heard this kind of thing
kindergartners
before.
are different. And kindergartners
Yes.
already live in ambiguity.
Yes.
They already are living in the Peanuts world of the muted trombone,
Mhm. Yes.
where
The teacher
the,
that's wah, 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 wah,
well,
wah, wah,
every
wah. Yeah.
adults like
Yeah.
adults talk about adult topics, and the kids are just swimming in that world of not knowing what they're talking about. So that ambiguity is more normal for them, and they're less likely to be like,
Hmm.
I don't understand exactly every word you're saying. Whereas when they get up into maybe like second and third grade, they're much more settled into a world that they mostly understand the language that's being used around them.
Yeah.
I do think from then on, there's a human thing that probably lasts a lifetime. And I see it in my high schoolers where you don't know what you don't yet know, but you also
Hmm.
reject it until you're there and you will not be shamed. So you can't tell a
Hmm.
high schooler, like you can't tell a ninth grader, hey, look at this text from 12th grade. You can't read that. Look at you. Your language isn't good enough yet. This is just English, native English speakers. The first thing they'll say is like, oh, yeah, it's some fancy, who cares about that? And if you show most, like adults, any age, here's some fancy science literature, here's some fancy engineering journal. They'll be like, well, I don't care about that. Like, why would I care about that? There's always some higher level you could read at,
Yeah. Yeah. Or
but
more specificity or
more
yeah,
specificity, yeah, higher
style, something.
vocabulary style, sure. But people typically reject just outright. They're like, well, I don't, why would I care about that? And so, yeah, I have kind of I think from it's maybe, I'm no expert in this, but it feels like second grade onward that you just
I
use the
agree.
language that you're at and you don't really care about everything beyond that,
Yeah.
as native speakers. Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I was thinking the same. Like kindergarten does feel quite different from second grade in terms of that level of their normal life. How much do they actually understand?
Yeah.
I've also seen something, and it was a study. It wasn't just a pulled out of the air. I forget the study details though, but it was on the speed at which children all the way up through like age 13, I think, or 12, 14, somewhere, cusp of adolescence kind of time frame, they their processing speed of words per minute
Mm.
was still lagging behind an adult. And
Right.
so like
Mm.
it was
Hmm.
considerable enough that I
Yeah.
mean the findings were significant. Like it and all the way up through an age that I was like, oh, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe up through age 8. But
Mm.
no, so
Mm.
all the way up to like right around teenage,
Mm.
students are actually processing words per minute on average
Hmm.
slower than adults are, again, on average. So you might
Interesting.
find people
Whoa.
vary, of course.
Yeah.
But that can be a thing too. I think
Okay.
part of the need to slow down and part of the reason, like motherese, that kind of way of talking to young children, where we slow down and our voice is a little more expressive and exaggerated. I think it's an adaptation to the responsiveness of little kids,
Sure.
probably, where they really do need a little more time, even maybe than you think. And then if you're
Yeah.
doing this in a new language for them, add more time.
Sure.
And, again, like, are they going to protest? Well, if you've helped to establish the expectations are, hey, you're going to just kind of listen and watch and see if you can figure out one word
Yeah.
this whole time.
Yeah.
Something like set their expectation low
Yeah.
and then don't do it for very long. And
Right.
then afterwards, let's celebrate. Did anybody figure out what this meant?
Sure.
And then yeah,
Yeah.
and all that. Like really reward the little
Yeah.
bit of effort and then keep building, building, building on
Yeah.
that.
You could also, I've seen other things. I used to go to Star Talk conferences, and there was a really good Arabic presentation one time where the teacher first did a demo activity spoken slow, but then he played a video and he explained in English, and he also told us his language policy in English. He said, we use English for emergencies, and we use English sometimes for giving instructions if it's for a new activity. But then he said,
Mm.
the next activity you're going to do is this first activity was setting you up for this video you're going to watch. Now it's a little bit faster, but every time you hear a greeting word, you're going to raise your hand. And so it was just a silent kind of, I guess it was listen and do, but prompted by a video.
Mhm.
But again, setting those expectations really low,
Yeah,
you're just listening for this kind of
just
word.
one word.
So
Yep.
if you've done a song about animals, then you do something else with animals. Every time you hear an animal word, clap. Every time you hear an animal word, raise your hand. Or every time you hear an animal word, call out the sound of that animal. And
Yeah,
doing things
that's a fun one.
chorally as a whole class is a kind of group scaffolding because any student who doesn't know it can still jump in
Hmm.
as any one classmate who gets it started, everyone else can follow with that classmate. So it's a sort of
Right.
group helping kind of thing. So you can do other
Yeah.
things that aren't necessarily reliant on a different language.
Yeah.
But
I was
yeah.
I was thinking too, like as another technique, the TPR, total physical response. Again, I would set up like, okay, I'm going to act the action and you're going to hear me say the words that match and you do it with me as
Yeah.
you understand what I'm doing. I don't know. Because
Sure. You
actually
act it
James
out.
Asher's
Right.
thinking about TPR was not really like it was about comprehension. For him, it was like getting out of your left brain and trying to get you in your right brain where
Okay.
you're a little more intuitive, you're a little bit
Yeah.
more, yeah.
I
Um,
often think of like the actual doing of TPR in his sense as not like let's establish these individual vocabulary words,
Right.
which often is done as like a step in a TPRS kind of thing. But instead, more like other listen and do, where it's like I can be less than comprehensible because I'm building you up toward like if I say stand up,
Hmm.
a gesture standing up, people recognize that gesture. If one student stands up, you kind of nod and everyone sees that that's the right thing to do. So they all stand up, or whoever you point to stands up. Or I've seen
Yeah.
like different geographic words on the wall. And so this half of the class is like Beijing, and this half of the class is Shanghai. So Beijing stand up, but Shanghai stand up. Once you get them into
Yeah.
that routine, now you can start making your language more complicated. You could say, okay, everybody on
Right.
this side of the room stand up, and everybody on this side of the room stand down, and everybody on
Yeah.
this side of the room stand up, and everybody on this side of the room stand down. So there's still
Yeah.
repetition, but you can kind of gradually make your language more complicated. And as long as you're nodding when they do the right thing, then
Right.
they're able to participate. Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing about starting TPR is like, I mean, you as the teacher, I suggested like you do the action, but you can also have a volunteer student. Like, I need someone to help us demonstrate what's happening. Or, again, I'm trying
Sure.
to think of the quick way that you could
Yeah.
say it in their known language.
Hmm.
But bringing that student up to the front, if you've got one that's a little more confident, kind of a
Yeah.
leader-like student, you might be
Yeah.
able to use them to kind of help
Hmm.
model to other
Hmm.
students, like, this is what it's going to feel like, and then we'll do it along with them as they.
Yeah.
So saying like he stands up, he
Hmm.
sits down,
Mm.
he stands up,
Hmm.
he waves,
Hmm.
and then he sits down.
Hmm.
And he like that, and
Yep.
doing like little things again and again, which I have found TPR is not boring as long as you are varying it enough.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
like a little, maybe a 3 or 4 minute routine could be
Yeah.
just those kinds of things. And I used to embed this sort of TPR with my beginning students around the very kinds of actions that I wanted them to understand in the target language. So,
Yeah.
stand up made sense.
Yeah.
Put your chairs over here,
Yeah.
stand in a circle,
Yeah.
go get a book of your choice,
Right.
get a whiteboard, get a
Get,
marker,
get a
put the
marker.
marker back, all
That's
of
right.
those kinds of things. So you could
Yeah.
even make a list.
Hmm.
Like, these would be really helpful functional phrases. Let's see if we can get some TPR in there
Yeah.
so that we can do more with the target language, and they can be really confident by the time
Hmm.
you need to use them as instructions. But in the meantime, adding little adjectives or adverbs in there can
Yeah.
make them so fun. I still remember in a
Hmm.
high school classroom where somebody opened and closed the door romantically, and it was a
That's
blast.
really funny.
Yes.
Oh, I was just thinking
And
you
like
could,
he had a
yeah.
rose as
I
if in
see.
between his teeth and kind of
Yeah.
did a little wink and stuff.
That's
Oh my
hilarious.
goodness, it was hilarious.
That's awesome. You could also, for little kids, maybe they'd enjoy screaming. So you could say,
Mm.
scream,
If your other
scream,
teachers are okay
scream
with that.
quietly. Yes. Scream more quietly. No,
Scream
scream way more
quietly. There we go.
quietly.
That would be good. Yes.
Yeah. And these sort of like twists, that's kind of what all humor is anyways. It's a little twist on expectations. And so if it's screaming, what would be unexpected about screaming? Well, what's the opposite of
Mhm.
screaming? Something quiet. Okay, scream quietly.
Yeah.
In your mind, you don't have to give away the simple mechanism, but you can keep it fun and kind of everyone on their toes with little funny things like that. Like you said,
Right.
closing the door sounds like a boring act, and
Right.
romantically is the opposite of boring.
Yes.
So I think that's a little trick that you can kind of keep in your mind.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yes, scream loudly. Now scream quietly.
Yeah.
Scream
Yeah.
more quiet, and you
And
could challenge them more quietly.
in the case of people who can read, which is not entirely this elementary school age, but if they can, maybe pictures would work for this too. Like the emotion or the style of it, I let them choose. So that little bit of choice too
Hmm.
can be a
Yeah,
little extra hook on their
sure.
interest too. So
Yeah,
both those, like, yeah, I called it with styles because some of them were like a robot.
yeah.
I would love to do like a cat. That would be a fun
Oh yeah.
one.
I did a demo, yeah, at the Jean workshop last year summer, where I had these kind of four animals looking like silly looking animals. And one was like a macho bodybuilder, and one of them, oh, I know I had a ghost. One of them was just a ghost, not an animal. Uh, but I let students choose which picture because I had to act out the
Hmm.
voices. The teacher would act out the voice first. And so, in a sort of gradual release of responsibility, and I do, we do, you do, it started with them making choices about the voices I would do. And
Hmm.
so, my point there was that there was sort of play with sound, play with accents, play with just kind of seeing and it's I like doing impressions. Like I grew up doing them. I would go to school and repeat Simpsons lines with my friend every
Mhm.
day, and it's just something I enjoy. So that's it's
Yes,
I'm not
teacher skill
suggesting
too.
every
Mhm.
teacher has this skill, and so not every teacher should lean into this as an activity the way I did it, but it's something that I knew I would have fun doing. I think if you're bad at it, it could be just as fun.
Yeah, that's true.
But
Sometimes that
it's
works.
giving simple choice to the students where the teacher can point like this one, this one, this one, and this one. Which one? This one, this one, this one, or this one? This one? This one? This one? Oh, by the way, my I didn't realize until like 2 years in that a lot of my students didn't know the target language words of how to say this and that.
Mhm.
Somehow we just like we're doing other stuff. Like
Yeah, yeah.
we
So
weren't
useful,
doing
but yes, you're right.
basic
I can't
things. Yeah.
recall when textbooks I've seen introduce that, and
Yeah.
it's so highly
You
useful.
need it like
Covers
all
for
the
almost
time.
every
Yeah,
noun.
yeah.
Yeah.
And in situations where you don't know how to say something, it's
Hmm.
literally the human solution to that. Like,
Hmm.
so, yeah. So, anyways, there's no harm, and also, no one notices in daily life when it's being overused because it's not
Yeah.
referring to the same meaning every time. And so,
Yeah.
if you're shopping for clothing, like this one, nah, it's too bright. This one, it's not a good fit. This one, nah, I don't like it. This one, like no one
Yeah.
says, "Hey, you
Not
said the
boring.
words this one too much." We don't notice it
Yeah.
because it's that useful. It's fine. So you can do that, and then students can be like, "This one," and be like, "This one, yeah, this one, okay." And then I do like my like, "Ooh, I don't want to be here," and we have a little laugh. Okay, okay, this one, or this one. And so you do that a few times, and then you could find out like, does a student want to do a little voice for
Oh, try
everybody?
it. Yeah.
So now it's now a student can come up and do it. And if you want to
Yeah.
do the full, like it's got to lead to students in little groups. After one student has done it for the whole class, then you could have them in little groups kind of do it for a minute and act out for each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was there anything else in the email?
Um, well, one suggestion was like that techniques for helping them extend their patience when they don't understand. And she was thinking circumlocution games. And
Okay.
I've thought of that as a more intermediate student ability. So I don't know how much background these little ones have,
Hmm.
but I think that's a little complicated for a
Yeah.
kid at this point. Like,
Yeah.
yes, eventually that's a great skill, but maybe now, like you just were talking about this and that, maybe you're just going to tell them we're going
Yeah.
to use the word this, and this is what
Well,
that means.
this has come to my mind recently because I have students about to do their IAIO, their internal assessment individual oral exam. It's the seniors. The IB, we make fun of ourselves for how many like initialism names for
Acronyms,
things we
yes.
have. Yeah.
Well, education does it anyway, but then now you
Yes.
got a special
Now the
extra
IB
set.
leans into it. So one strategy I've been telling them is get to know the names of types of things because if you can't name the specific thing, if you forgot the name for pants, you can say clothing. If you forgot the name for blueberry, you can say that fruit. If you forgot the name for, coffee or tea or some sort of drink, you can say that beverage, 饮料. And beverage might sound a little less frequent in English, but 饮料is
Pretty common.
much more frequent in Chinese. And so, category names. And you could kind of sneak it in the same way I just did that ghost and dog one. Instead of saying this one, this one, this one, this one, you could say this animal, this animal, this animal, or this animal. So now you're giving them
Hmm.
input, you're giving them exposure to general category names, and that can help circumlocute when you don't know the specific name of something. So I think that could be one solution.
Yeah, I had a poster on the wall, and she's coming in and out of classrooms. I don't know how feasible this is or how valuable it is, but it's another technique possible that like a poster that has things that she could point to that say something like, is it an animal? Is it a
Uh,
person? Is it a thing? Is it an
oh,
object? Is it,
oh,
is it big or small? And
oh
I don't
yeah.
know. Like
Oh,
she
I
could
like
make
that.
it. I mean, in a way, charades is sort of like a circumlocution game almost
Sure.
too, but
Yeah.
like something along those lines could start getting some of those words that will fill in for more specific vocabulary that
Yeah,
you maybe don't have yet.
right. And at the very least, like if the goal of the activity is to it's to come to something specific, the questioning provides a lot of exposure to those general use words that
Yes.
then probably build up skills in circumlocution.
Yeah. Like I guess
Yeah.
it's not charades, it's more like 20 questions, something like
That,
that. Is that what
yeah.
that is?
Or
Yeah.
is it
Okay.
I Spy? No, 20 questions. Yeah. Yeah. We
Yeah.
just started this animal game. I bought this for Annie for Hanukkah. So Hanukkah gifts, I distribute, I get something that I can break up into eight
Ah,
parts. And
smart.
so
That's cool. Then you get it at the end, it's all complete.
it's all complete at the end. Yeah, last year
Very
was
cool.
these little blocks, and so she got and I themed them. I sort of grouped them into little themes, so it makes sense what the group is each day. Yeah, on the last day she got all the leftover blocks, but there's one day that was all wheels for her blocks. Yeah, for this one, it's a little animal game that goes around her head. We each wear it, and you put a little card in it, and so
Oh
it's
yeah,
animal
yeah, I've seen.
cards. And
Yep.
so when you pick the card, you can't look at it. You put it up in your little helmet thing, and it's a headband. You put it in your headband.
Hmm.
And then you start asking, like, does it swim? Does
Hmm.
it? So you could do something similar in a classroom. It doesn't have to go on your head,
Hmm.
but it could be a card you pick up and show the group and then put down
Hmm.
and then ask questions. But you know, that could be also be supported with a little worksheet. Actually, this game came with a worksheet that I don't want to use. It just seems extra for a 3-year-old. We're just asking questions and it seems to work without the extra support. But in a classroom, you could have a little sheet that's like, does it live in the water, the desert, the city, the forest? Does it
Hmm.
swim, fly? You know, does it do these things? And so they could look at their sheet and ask to try to get at each other's animal or thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of little solutions there. But I think maybe one of the bigger solutions is to go spend some time watching the other teachers
Hmm.
that the kids are already used to and see if you can get inspired to do something that kind of fits into what they're used to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, this has been a fun topic.
Yeah, very fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Well, do you want to close it here?
Yes, and this is a totally off topic acknowledgement that today is Jane Austen's 250th birthday.
Oh,
And as a big fan of Jane Austen, I'm just going to put that in our podcast. So,
happy birthday, Jane Austen.
yes.
Cool. Did you want to say anything else about Jane Austen?
Oh, of course I did, but we're out of time.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. I've been your co-host, Reed Riggs.
And I am Diane Neubauer.
Thanks for
We'll see you
listening.
next time.
See you next time.